In this lesson, we're going to look at long division with polynomials. In this first example, we have the polynomial x cubed minus x squared plus 4x minus 10, and we're dividing by the binomial x plus 2. So to set up for long division, you're going to use an old school long division sign. So whatever you're dividing by, you're going to write that expression out here, and we're going to take the other polynomial and write it out in here. Okay, so I have everything set up. If you'll notice, I left a space right here, and then I drew a line. So what we're doing is we're asking ourselves, what expression can we put up here that when we multiply by x, we get this first term, x cubed? So again, you can say, what times x makes x cubed? And you get x squared. So again, if you think about it, x squared times x to the 1 will make x cubed. So next, we're going to take x squared, and we're going to multiply it to both of these terms, and we're going to write them out here. So x squared times x is x cubed, and x squared times 2 makes 2x squared. So now our next step is you subtract this row. But instead of subtracting, I want to add the opposite. So remember, for variables, adding the opposite is the same as subtracting. And because these terms are opposite, x cubed minus x cubed, they cancel out. We're going to combine these. So you have negative x squared and negative 2x squared makes a total of negative 3x squared. And then we're going to drop these two terms down. Okay, so we just made it through one whole round, and we're going to do the process again. So I left a space here and I drew the line. We're going to come up here and we're going to say, what do we multiply by x to get this first term? So again, what times x makes negative 3x squared? So that's going to be negative 3x. Our next step is we take this negative 3x and we multiply it to both of these terms. You can think of it as distributing, and we write our answer down here. So negative 3x times x makes negative 3x squared. Then negative 3x times 2 makes negative 6x. Next step, instead of subtracting, we're going to add the opposites. So I like to use another color pen just to really emphasize this. Add, and then turn both of these opposite. If you use another color pen, it helps you really identify the signs so that you can see if you make a mistake, you can go back and see all your work. At this point, you combine like terms down. So negative 3x squared and positive 3x squared, they cancel. If these first terms don't cancel, that means you did something wrong and you want to go back and check your work. Next, we have positive 4x and positive 6x. When you combine them, you get positive 10x. And then we're going to drop this term down. Leave a space and draw your line. First step is we go up here and we say, what can we write up here that when we multiply by this first term gives us this first term? So again, what times x makes positive 10x? And yes, we're putting a plus 10 right here. Once you identify that, we're going to take that value and we're going to multiply it to both of these and write our answer down here. So 10 times x makes 10x. 10 times 2 makes plus 20. Now we're at the point where we add the opposites. So I put plus and then made these both negative. So they cancel. And then we combine these, negative 10 plus negative 20 makes negative 30. This is going to be your remainder. To write out your final answer, because originally this is asking us to divide this polynomial by this one, our answer is going to be up here, whatever expression you get on top. So that's going to be your answer, and this is your remainder. So let's go ahead and write that out. When we divided these two polynomials, we get x squared minus 3x plus 10, and then we're going to add the remainder. So we're going to add the remainder, and then you're going to write it over the thing you divided by, this x plus 2. So our final answer is x squared minus 3x plus 10 plus negative 30 over the quantity x plus 2. Okay, our next problem says negative 1 plus 5x cubed plus 4x to the 4th plus 2x squared. We're taking that polynomial and we're dividing by the quantity x plus 1. So let's go ahead and set this up. So the expression you're dividing by, I wrote that out in front. Next, we have to take this polynomial and we want to put it in descending order. So we want to find the highest exponent, which is right here, positive 4x to the 4th. We're going to take this term and write it first. Next, we're going to write down the 5x cubed term, then the 2x squared term. Notice there's no plain x term, so I'm going to put a placeholder. So here's my placeholder for the x term, and then finally I'm going to list the constant. We're going to start it off by asking ourselves, what times x makes this first term? So I have 4x cubed times x makes 4x to the 4th. Your next step is you multiply this term to both of these out here. So 4x cubed times x makes 4x to the 4th. Then 4x cubed times 1 makes us 4x cubed. So we have our terms here. The next step is we're going to add their opposites. So these cancel out. We have 5x cubed minus 4x cubed makes 1x cubed. And then we're going to drop these terms down. Leave a space and we're going to do the process again. We're going to say what times x makes this first term. So x squared times x makes this first term. We're going to take x squared times x, and you get x cubed, and x squared times 1 makes x squared. So at this point, we're going to add the opposites. These terms cancel out. 2x squared minus x squared makes 1x squared, and drop these terms down. So now we're going to start the process again. We're going to say what times x makes this first term. We're going to take this x and multiply it to these terms and write it down here. And now we're going to add their opposites. So these terms right here cancel out. 0x plus negative x is going to make negative x. And drop down this negative 1. And we're going to do the process one more time. What times x makes this first term? And you get negative 1. Now we take the negative 1 and we multiply it to both of these terms, and we write it down here. Next, we're going to add their opposites. So you can see negative x plus x, those cancel. Negative 1 plus 1 makes 0. That means in this problem there's no remainder. So our answer is just what's up here. So this is our final answer, and let's go ahead and write that out. So we get 4x cubed plus x squared plus x minus 1. For this next problem, we're going to set this up, and if you'll notice over here, you're missing the x squared term, so we'll put a placeholder for that. Okay, so I have this set up. I have the placeholder for the x squared term, so now this has x to the fourth, x to the third, x squared, x, and then your constant. Over here, this problem obviously looks a little different because we have 3 terms on this outside, but the problem will still work the same. We're still going to start the same way. We're going to say what times this first term makes this first term, and you get 3x squared. Now we're going to take this term and we're going to multiply it to all 3 terms out here. So we're going to distribute to all 3 and write it down here. At this point, we're going to add their opposites. So these first 2 terms cancel. Here we have negative 5x cubed and positive 9x cubed makes positive 4x cubed. 0x squareds plus a negative 15x squareds makes negative 15x squared. And we're going to drop both of these terms down. I left a blank, and we're going to start the process again. So what times x squared makes 4x cubed? You get 4x. So next we take this term and we multiply it to all of these out here and write your answers down here. At this point, we're going to add their opposites. These first terms cancel. Now we have negative 15x squared and a positive 12x squared makes negative 3x squared. 4x and take away 20x makes negative 16x. And we're going to drop this negative 6 down. Okay, let's start the process again. We ask ourselves what times x squared makes this first term. And you get negative 3. So now we're going to take negative 3 and we're going to multiply it to all of these terms out here. I wrote it down here, and now we're going to add their opposites. So these first terms cancel out. Next, you get negative 25x. And then finally, negative 6 plus 15 makes 9. At this point, if you were to ask yourself what times x squared makes the negative 25x, it's not going to work out, so that means this is going to be our remainder. So remember, our final answer is up here, and then we're going to add this remainder over the thing we divided by. So here's our final answer. We have 3x squared plus 4x minus 3 plus negative 25x plus 9 all over x squared minus 3x plus 5.